You got two very ADD dudes talking
my
right now,
God.
so people
We're gonna
prepare
be
to rein us
all
in.
over the place.
We're gonna like squirrel.
Turn up the heat in here. Let's go. He's ballsy right now. He's got the hat on right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I made the wrong wardrobe choice.
I should have been in a sleeveless shirt tonight.
Welcome to Stronger. Today I'm excited to welcome my good friend, actor Drew Powell. You've seen him on shows like The Pitt and Gotham, and I highly recommend checking out his latest film, The Unbreakable Boy. I first trained with Drew over a decade ago, and today we're discussing how he prioritizes his health while balancing the demands of a busy acting career. I'm Don Saladino. Let's get stronger with Drew Powell.
Drew, how long have we known each other for? I'm trying to think now.
Since 2017.
It feels so much longer.
It does. That
doesn't do it justice.
People know when you meet somebody and you like connect, it's like you've known each other your whole life. Maybe past lives. I don't even know if I believe in that stuff, but like that's how it feels. Like I've known you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Drew Powell is an actor among actors, and I'll never forget. Liev Schreiber, Ray Donovan, turned to me and he came because we always joke around in the gym with the workouts, and he looked at me and he goes, "Dude, that boy can act."
Oh.
Gave you, yeah. It's like emotional. Didn't it just get in your
I want
soul?
to put that on my resume.
That boy
Liev
can
says
act.
that boy can act. Oh man,
it's special though. But I mean, so you're so much to cover right now.
Yeah.
You're in New York City for a premiere.
That's right. Yeah, and here for a movie called The Unbreakable Boy, which is a Lionsgate feature, and it's a true story, man, about this family who have a kid with autism and brittle bones disease. So you can imagine, how tricky that is. And what I love is this guy, Scott Lorette, wrote a book about his life and randomly got it to Peter Facinelli, who's another actor, his brother-in-law who runs a drugstore in New York. And he's like, "Hey, Peter, you should make this into a movie." And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then he made it into a movie. That's the short version, but it's this really inspiring story about how this kid who has all of these, perceived difficulties is, unbreakable in his spirit and how he approaches life and how the people around him react to him. And I get to play the lead character's imaginary friend because Scott in real life had an imaginary friend named Joe. And so it was.
So you're the imaginary
friend,
kind of like
named
popping
Joe.
in. And you're like,
So I pop in the happy times and the sad times. I'm like the angel on the shoulder, the devil on the shoulder.
This is a tearjerker, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
especially if you're a parent,
man.
especially if you're a dad. I have a bet out, and this bet goes to you. All of my guy friends specifically.
I'm gonna cry.
I don't know if this is sexist, whatever. But it's the guy friends I'm on. If you don't cry, I will buy your ticket.
I'm gonna cry.
That is the open
I can
deal.
almost see because listen, you're like a real actor, right? Like you're someone that I find is very believable when you play a specific role. And we've seen you play everything from a security guard, right, to funny, to serious. This here,
to a zombie monster.
Yeah, to a zombie monster walking half
Solomon
naked
Grundy.
out of the water. We will talk about that in a second. But I can almost see this role for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but probably a bit of humor and a bit of seriousness at the same time. So you got to be
100%.
versatile.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie? Because that's exactly right.
No.
And it really is. That's exactly right. That's what I loved about it. And look, as a big guy, 6'3", I think like I'm about 210.
Willard.
No
one's gonna get that, by the way. Let me just jump in quick.
Somebody's gonna get that.
Someone's gonna get
that.
We would joke around Footloose because we'd be at the gym, and he was Willard. He was Willard, and I was like the Wren.
Of course he was.
So we would just joke around about it. We'd be breakdancing on the floor.
It's like big country.
Yeah,
exactly.
big country coming in. Willard, come on, Willard.
Still, one of my favorite moments. I have this on video. Is like we were throwing up bench press, and I got like a
farm boy strong.
Farm strong. But my favorite thing is you're spotting me, and I hit. I forget what it was. I'm sure it was like 700 pounds, and I hit it, and the look on Don's face was like. I was like, that was as good as Liev Schreiber calling me a good actor. Right there. I was validated.
You love to press.
Yeah.
I wish I could get you to love legs.
Ain't that the truth?
No, but you were like so how you and I met, and I want to tell everyone this because I think this is a really special story. So typically when I would get a call from an actor, I'd go to Google, look them up. What are we trying to create? What are we trying to do here?
Yep.
And everyone's like Brad Pitt Fight Club, Ryan Reynolds Blade. It's like to the point where, so like you reach out to me. I think JT, my sales guy, reaches out to me, Drew Powell. I'm like, all right, I've heard of him. But I couldn't put a name with the face. I was just, I don't know, being stupid or whatever. So I didn't have time to do my due diligence, but I knew what you look like. But I didn't remember how big you're strong farm boy frame. Like you are an athlete. Watch this guy play basketball. Watch him move. He moves like a cat, right? So out of nowhere, I don't do my due diligence. We have a meeting. You walk in the drive, and the second the door opens, I'm walking, and I look at you, and I just say, right out loud, I can't believe I said this. I went, fuck, please tell me it's not Brad Pitt from Fight Club.
He did.
And he just looks at me. He just looks at me and starts hysterically laughing.
Oh my God.
The next thing you know, him and I are hugging. And the next thing you know, I went from like being his trainer to us actually like, I think for a while I was training you and I'm like, the hell with it. You and I are working out together.
See, right? I got to be part of the gym mafia, man.
But our workouts were you, Liev, George Paros, who was this NHL enforcer who's now the head of player safety, Sebastian Stan, Ethan, Tone.
Of course.
We had a group we called ourselves the Gym Mafia. And
eclectic group.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Talk about from all walks of life.
And I just have to say this too, like in that, so this was late 2010s, right? So from like 2017 to 20, I guess I left in 2018. I came back a couple times.
It's a couple years.
But at your gym, at 360, the
495,
amount, the 495.
Don't you forget that.
Exactly. Whatever. But no, that play, Drive 495, it was incredible the people that would walk through that door. I mean, like so many, like all of my favorite actors. Like, oh, there's Benicio del Toro, and oh, there's I mean, it was like you name it, everybody was in there. And then, like, people in business and politics, like, it was just a fascinating
Mike
place.
Bloomberg would be walking through there. You'd have Sandra Bullock on. Someone from the Post would be calling me up, like, Sandra Bullock working out there? And I'm like, I wish, send her my way. And I hang up the phone just to
that
not,
was the
like,
thing. Everybody felt safe there. Yeah. Like, it was super chill. Like, it was such a great experience. And look, COVID killed a lot of things. And I think, you've proven, and by the way, the barn is incredible. So you've really flourished like a, Phoenix rising from the ashes. But that time and place was really awesome. We used to have like sit in the steam room and have like, chats about life.
Just laugh and just talk.
Exactly.
Everyone finish a workout and you'd grab a shake and out of nowhere, you'd see everyone kind of moving to a certain section. And there were days where I was in there and you'd see like some of the biggest names in Hollywood and everyone was comfortable. People would be sitting there like shirtless, just trying to like changing their shirt and not worried about, like, I had certain policies where there was like no cameras, where there wasn't any picture taking.
Absolutely.
I remember we had a member once that one time went to Jim Parsons and asked him for a picture. And I found out about it. I grabbed her and I said, so-and-so, you can't do that. And she's like, I'm sorry, but this was made me, you have to understand. I understand your reasoning for doing it, but if everyone sees you doing this, then everyone feels like that's allowed, and we lose the intimacy of this place, even to a point where I had at the time, I could talk about this now, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson walked in there and no one was looking at him. And finally, he looked at little TJ.
He was pissed.
No, he looked at little TJ and he's like, "Come on, man, let's take a picture." TJ's like, "No," and like walked up. And he's like, "What's going on here?" And I'm like, "TJ, it's okay. You're not." He asked awesome. You for the picture. But I think that was what I was super proud of. But you and I met in a role. You were playing Solomon Grundy.
That's right.
In a show called Gotham. So I want you, because I think the purpose of the show is to teach people that fitness can look and feel different for everyone.
That's right.
And it's just, how can we get you a little bit better? How can we just teach you that it doesn't have to be so hard? It doesn't have to be impossible. Fitness can be fun. Some of the best workouts you had was just having a good time.
Absolutely. And I want to say that, like, so they said, okay, you're going to be Solomon Grundy next season, and we need you to completely change the way you look, and you have like 7 weeks to do it. I'm like,
please tell me it's not Brad Pitt Fight Club.
Exactly. And that's why when that was the first thing you said, I'm like, you have no idea how impossible that would be with our timeline.
You look
but
good.
I was also like, I wasn't, I lifted in the because it was what we did to play ball, like, whatever the sport was. But it wasn't the thing I loved, and I'd had bad experiences with trainers in the past. So my publicist at the time was like, all right, this is Don Saladino. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Here's some Guido.
It's like, this friggin' guy. And so I'm like,
some
I
Guido.
knew I needed help. And so I'm like, all right, let's do this. And then it was like, you completely completely blew all of my expectations out of the water and what I thought a trainer was or could be. And also, I think there's this people out there are like, well, when you're famous, you get a trainer and it's easy. And it's
doesn't always work.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
And also, like, my thing is, I'm never gonna be Brad Pitt. I'm a big dude. I was born big. I was born literally 11 pounds, 22 inches. Set the record at the Noblesville Hospital. I'm just a big dude. So, like, there's no shredding going on. And so what I love is,
I can get you shredded.
No, I don't want it. But what I did love is that you were like, let's have a realistic goal, which is because we had a time frame. And here's what you have to do. I'll never forget the first day you were writing down like the stuff that I had to eat. Because we went hard that 7 weeks, and I was like, I can't eat 7 eggs in one sitting. How
it wasn't
like,
7 eggs, by the way.
It was so many eggs.
Saying.
Oh my gosh, it was like all this stuff. I'm like, oh my god.
I was trying to get your protein.
I know, but by the way, it
worked.
It worked. And the best thing that was, they brought me we shot this scene, so I have to come up out of the swamp wearing nothing but basically a loincloth. And the whole point is, like, I've gone into the swamp dead as this character, and I'm coming back as this.
It's a cool scene, by the way. You guys should Google it.
Yeah, YouTube that thing. Solomon Grundy, Gotham. And but we actually got to a place that I thought was believable. Nobody had ever played this character that wasn't a video game or some like CGI thing. So like we were on a TV budget, so we were at a disadvantage because you've done everything at this point. When in terms of superheroes, you've done it all, including when we were working out with David Harbour and he was in a suit. And he's like, "Oh, I got to gain some more weight because I got to fit in the suit." I'm like, screw you. First of all,
you're in a suit.
Yeah, get out of here. So, but we did it in a way that I thought was the fans dug, that it looked like it was different enough. And that night in Staten Island, freezing cold, like 3 a.m, and we wrap. And they brought me a pizza, and it was cold as hell, but it was the greatest thing I ever had. Because you gave me 7 weeks, and I did everything you said.
A couple of times you were like, "Well, can I?" I'm like, "No."
Nope.
You could have been like, "Can I go to church? Can I take my cow?" I'm like, "No." I just immediately knew that you were alluding to something.
No, exactly. But I appreciated that what I love the most about you is you have empathy. You're not, and you check your ego at the door, which a lot of that, as you know, in the business doesn't always happen, and you really meet people where they are. And I think that's a really a great gift in your business, and I think that you're the best out there.
Thank you.
And you hired people like Tiago, who was my day to day. I mean, what a great dude and a great trainer.
So you talk about culture and community. Yeah. I mean, it's got to always. I mean, the beautiful thing about Drive is we built that over 15 years.
Yeah,
movie sets have got to be. They've got to be an interesting dynamic, right? Because when you're on a set, you could be on it anywhere from a couple of weeks to a year or so, right? I mean, some of the Marvel movies are crazy, granted, but I would think that every time that community and culture changes, I'm sure you're in environments that are phenomenal and you never want it to end. And I'm sure I think it's just normal. We're not throwing anyone on the bus, environments that you're like, okay, this is a little tense, right?
Absolutely. This movie that I'm promoting at the moment, The Unbreakable Boy, was one of those because it was in the middle of COVID. And we were in Oklahoma City. You couldn't do anything. Like, you could go to a restaurant if it was outside. And so we all were in this motel, like in downtown Oklahoma City, and the cast, we were all together. And consequently, we got really close. We would like hang out in each other's rooms and play guitar and sing and play board games and, whatever, and make Christmas cookies because it was the holidays. And I think that's what you see on the screen, is that we have this really great camaraderie, but not every, that was circumstantial. We were kind of in that situation.
It could have went the other way too.
Absolutely, and it has.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, COVID was I knew specific sets that people went on and they were like, enough's enough. I want to see my family.
Yeah.
I can't see my family.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing I've seen most actors struggle the most with. It upsets me when like the general public will turn around and be like, "Oh, the actors have it easy."
Yeah.
Or like I get asked all the time, because I've worked with both athletes and actors, and people are like, "Well, who's harder to work with? The athlete, right?" And I'm like, "Oh God, it's oh my God, you're going to be blown away by this." Yeah. Not even close. Yeah. And they're like, "The athlete, right?" I'm like, "No, the actor."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, how is that possible? Like, how can the athlete, of course, has to be hard." Let me explain a few things to you. One, actors always have to change their environment and the people they work with.
Yep.
Two, they're changing time zones probably a little bit more severely. Yeah. Like, you're over in Singapore shooting a movie. Brutal. So to think about the time zone change, you have family, your son, you know, you don't always have access to a trainer. Most of the time, you don't have access to a trainer. I don't travel with anyone, right?
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to be away from your family. So now, and let's throw this on top of it. You're playing a different character every time.
Yeah.
You have to learn different stunts.
Yeah. We have to be vulnerable. Overarching for that whole thing is to be a good actor, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to open yourself up. And I think that's the part that people don't realize is that we are, you know, very empathetic creatures because we have to by nature. Whether you're playing a good guy or a bad guy, you have to be able to open yourself up to who this character is and how you're going to play him or her. And so that's the part where we feel, you know, and so we're in a business where we feel for a living. If you're doing it right anyway, in my opinion. And that doesn't mean you have to become the thing. I'm not a method guy, but I'm saying you have to be willing to be open-minded. I'm playing a character right now on a show called The Pitt on Max, which is kind of ER meets 24. It's an incredible show. But I play this guy who's, you know, he's not a great guy, not a nice guy, but I have to find in where the motivation is for this guy. Why? How does he feel wrong that he's being such a jerk? Like, what are the things? So that's the stuff. And I think people underestimate the fact that kind of is overarching in who we are, who our personalities are, who we are as people. And so, you know, sometimes we're, you know, hard on the sleeve, and can be a bad thing. You know, we can get hurt.
You're not always playing like, you're not always playing Captain America. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not always playing that role that everyone wants to be like. There's got to be times where you jump into roles and you're like, wow, I'm playing a bad guy right now. How do you do you find it more difficult to get into, I've never asked you this question. I'm sorry to start, I'm throwing this at you, but do you find it more difficult to get into a character's role that maybe, you know, that you don't like?
Yeah.
You're not always playing people that you like, right?
Yeah. I think it's human nature to want to be the hero, right? Yeah. We all want to be the good guy. We all think we're the hero in our own story. So yeah, you do have to kind of, you know, it's funny. Here's a little example of something like that you realize, especially as a character actor, which is what, you know, I am basically, is I remember going in on wardrobe fittings, and usually it's like, okay, who is this character? Most of the time, the characters that I play, it's like the rack off of Walmart, like the ugly, like the thing. I'm in Curb Your Enthusiasm. My wardrobe is the ugly. Like, I don't know what I look like whatever the worst dad, you know, outfit is ever. And you got to be like, I would never wear this. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. You know, you've got to like check that whatever it is at the door. It's not about you. It's who is this character? And yeah, sometimes it is harder, but also it can be a lot of fun to be the bad guy too, because you get to do a lot of, you know, stuff that, you know, is interesting and fun. So you have to, you know, it's good to be the good guy sometimes too, but I enjoy it both ways. And I would say, yeah, there's some ways in which it's easier to be the bad guy because you don't feel the pressure. You can come in and, you know, do your thing, and it's all on the hero to come through in the end. But look, any real actor will tell you, like, it doesn't matter. Just give me the job. You know, we love it when we're working. I love it when I'm working. It doesn't matter what it is.
Fall is here, and when cooler weather rolls around, it's always nice to have some new items in your closet for the upcoming season. It's time to upgrade to Rag & Bone's infused denim. I never actually wore their denim till recently, and I'm actually, look at this. I'm wearing them now. This is them. The exact denim that we're talking about, I have on right now. So this is a real ad, guys. This is real. This is authentic. So it's time to upgrade to Rag & Bone's infused denim. What I love about these is that when I receive them, they almost give off a bit of a vintage look. Like, it's that really super soft, comfortable pair of jeans in your closet that look vintage, but they're clean. You can wear them out to like a fun dinner, but you can also lay on the couch with them. So they are like the first pair of jeans I've ever worn that are very versatile. And that's why I love them so much. So I'm excited to see how these evolve over time, because I just got these and I'm already in love with them. Comfortable, sharp, and built to last, infused denim is your new go-to wardrobe staple. It's time to upgrade your denim with Rag & Bone. Look at these. Again, awesome, comfortable, great looking. For a limited time, our listeners get 20% off their entire order with code STRONGER at rag-bone.com. That's 20% off at rag-bone.com with promo code STRONGER. When they ask where you heard about them, please support our show and let them know we sent you. And to be honest, yes, I recommend buying their denim, but all their stuff is just incredible. So I would just, if you get 20% off your entire order, just go in there and shop. at rag-bone.com. This episode of Stronger is brought to you by Mitopure. With Mitopure, you're getting more than just a supplement. You're getting a product that's been proven by over 15 years to target the effects of aging from inside out. I use Mitopure because this helps my mitochondria, which is my power plant. So I have noticed since using Mitopure for it's probably over 2 years now, and that was referred to me by Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, I've noticed that my skin has improved. I've noticed that my energy is even better. And these are things that I wish I was paying attention to decades ago. You know, once you see results like that, you're never going to shy away from using this supplement. Timeline is offering 20% off your first order of Mitopure. Go to timeline.com/stronger. That's TIMELINE.com/stronger.
You just made me think of Titanic. Who was his name? Was it Billy Zane? Who was the one? Yeah, it was Billy Zane. He played Rose's husband or fiance and I'll never forget. This had to be when I was in college when that movie came out. Probably 97, 96 was when I would think. But I remember watching him come on a talk show, and he came on with a fake baby. And he walked on like holding the baby, like trying to hand out. People were like, boo. They were like booing him. And I'm like, I wonder because he was playing like such a, I want to say scumbag. I mean, he really was. He was literally willing to, take the spot of a child. And
that's right.
But like at that age, you're so young. You're like, wow, I wonder if he gets booed all the time. I wonder if because sometimes people can't. And I've noticed that with you guys is that they forget that you're playing a character.
Yeah.
Do you ever have that where people run into you and they think you're still so-and-so, or they talk to you like you're that person? Or
I think what happens a lot of times when I'm a bad guy, like, oh, you're so nice. Like it's such a surprise.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's the acting part. So, and it is when you play a real nasty character, there are some that I have that I haven't played, but I've auditioned for where it's a character where you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go take a walk after this because it was so disturbing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I'm a big believer in looking after your mental health on those things too, because I think people can get stuck in that world. And so you have to really, especially on, there's a scene in the Pitt that's coming up where this thing happens, and I had to really make sure that I was okay, the other actors were okay, that we were, that we looked after each other. But yeah, the general public sometimes does forget, and I think that's kind of human nature. But in some ways, it's like what I loved, for the example, on Butch, the character I played in Gotham. I watched a whole lot of The Sopranos, and I watched James Gandolfini, and I watched how he made Tony Soprano he's this bad guy, but somehow you ended up rooting for him.
Yeah, you want to see him win. Yeah.
That's a real win. When people were like, yeah, Butch like shoots people in the face, but gosh, I love this guy. I'm like, all right, that's a win. That's, then I've done my job. But I do, it's a weird job too, because, there's no other job where you have to do the things that you're asked to do. And so, yeah. So my wife was a makeup artist, and we met. I played a young Hoss Cartwright in a prequel to Bonanza, and she was a makeup artist. We shot it in Australia. I was brand new to the game. It was one of my first.
You crossed
big
the
gigs.
line.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's what was funny. So we started dating, and it was like she has a lot of integrity, and she's like, I don't want anyone to know because I don't want anyone to think that I would ever, tell. Because when you're sitting in the makeup chair, it might as well be like a psychologist chair.
Beautiful person. By the way. I love your wife.
Yeah, she's amazing, and works kind of in your industry. She's into movement now. She's really gotten into the fascial movement. She's obviously a yoga instructor, but all this stuff. So
I've collaborated with you.
You
before.
have,
She's
and
phenomenal.
It's awesome.
What's her handle, by the way? You got to say
Soulful Warrior Collective.
Soulful Warrior Collective. Check it out.
But she, I would mess with her a little bit though because nobody knew we were dating, and so I'd be like, yeah, I need could you get Veronica to come up? I got a runny nose. I need a tissue. She'd come up the hill, and I'd be like, actually, I'm good. And she's like, oh, yeah. And then I maybe sneak a little rubber bag or something. She'd be like, stop it. I enjoyed the heck out of that, but yeah, it's a crazy freaking job, and you have a crazy job too, and that's the marriage of the two is fascinating to me, and I think that's what's also really interesting, and why I think this podcast is going to be interesting because you've had to connect with people on multiple levels.
Yeah.
And so you know a little bit more about acting than your average Joe. You know a little bit more about, the business, all those business guys, those Wall Street guys you had coming through there, the golf guys, the athletes, And so that's why I think, you're the perfect person for a show like this because you've been around it.
I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've had. And I mean that not to sound corny, but I think one common trait that everyone's going to have that comes on here, and is everyone into health and wellness and fitness? At a certain level, yes. But I think one thing that everyone's going to have in common even more is failure.
Yeah, sure.
And
that's good.
Every single person that I am bringing on at some point can tell me about some situations. And I think it's important for people to hear that because nowadays we look at people that are successful, that are at a specific level, and everyone's like, wow, I wish I was there. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand what it took to get there.
That's right.
So I have coaches every week, they DM me and they're like, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But how do I do what you do? And I'm like, listen, I'll make you a deal. If you do the first thing that you need to do, I'm going to tell you. But if you can do the first thing and complete the first thing, I will mentor you free of charge.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And what I tell them to do is go work at a big box gym for a year.
Oh, wow.
In the last... I don't think I've had one person contact me back.
Is that right?
Yeah. Every single person that's reached out to, that is my test. If you can go and work at a big box.
Why is that?
Because they don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to have to go clean up weights. When I worked at a big box gym in 1999, I was excited to put a purple shirt on. I was excited to rack weights.
Yeah.
I was excited to get my teeth kicked in by people. I'm not interested in training with you. Well, I wasn't asking you to train. I just want to show you a cool way to do this tricep movement that you were doing. And let me just show this to you and show them that I wasn't into it for the money and build the trust. They don't want to do that. And so with you in your career, hasn't always been roses.
Oh no.
I mean, you're like a grinder, right? So can you give us a couple of examples, or maybe just let us in a little bit so people actually can turn around and relate and say, wow, I'm not in this whole journey alone.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll have kids, call me up from like my college or people I know back home, and they'll be like, yeah, I really want to be an actor. And the first thing I always say is, okay, but if there is anything else that you can do and find joy, go do that thing, because this is not a job for the faint of heart. In the same way of what that you're describing about the big box gym, there is no fairness in this job. There's no right path. I mean, I wanted to be an actor from the time I was a little kid. I mean, my earliest memories were putting on plays for my family in the living room. I sang Grandma's Feather Bed in the first grade, talent show with my little hat. My dad had to work, so he played it on the guitar, and I put the boombox next to me on a piano bench, and then everybody clapped. I'm like, that's amazing. I had the night before Christmas memorized, and they would in kindergarten they'd parade me around town and do it for people, and they're like, whoa. So performance was in my blood. I went and saw Back to the Future in the theater, and all I can say is like there was.
I still remember that in the theater, by the way.
I mean, it was one of the great movies of all time, and I had a feeling. All I can describe is like a feeling deep in my soul, like deep in my body, somewhere in like my chest and my solar plexus. That was like it was yearning. It was like physical, almost painful, but like I want to do that.
Do you want to play Biff?
Yeah. You get your damn hands off her. And so that's it. Like I even with all of that, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to. So I was going to be a broadcast journalist. I was going to be like a sports reporter because that was the legitimate way to be on camera. And then the way the fates worked, I ended up getting this part-time job as a youth director at a church in North Hollywood, California, getting paid $15,000 a year. And that was the little, just that tiny little bit of, crack in the door that I needed. And I was on Malcolm in the Middle, 6 months later and off to the races and, with my SAG card. So that's not a path that anyone else can just take. It's, you gotta put in the effort. And if I could give you a list of all the jobs I didn't get, it's And it still happens. I auditioned for Chris Nolan's most recent film recently, actually in the middle of the fires, which was intense. It was like chaos going on everywhere. We didn't have power, and I ended up, going to a friend's house and have the Zoom with the casting. And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. Let's just do this, But, I love, like, he's number one on my list of directors I want to work with, but I didn't get the job. And that's how it goes. You don't get the job more than you get it, and once you're okay with that, it makes it a little easier, but it's never easy.
It's amazing just the competition in life.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I did a lot of fitness work back in the day.
Sure.
Go on castings. I was never trying to be an actor. I've always wanted to be in the fitness and wellness space. That to me was acting for you. It's what I'm passionate about. But I remember to kind of make extra money, I was doing, Men's Health and these, annual reports of the guy flexing with a tattoo on his arm that said Exxon, like that was me. It was
I love it.
Every casting to make, I'd be at Sotheby's, body painted for 5 hours, walking around, serving drinks, half naked.
Oh, I wish I had video of that.
No, but like funny stuff. But I'll never forget. There was a situation. I'm 5 years into doing this. I'm in my early 20s, and I probably landed 5 to 10% of my jobs, which means like 90% of the work. And that's probably why I've always had this level of humility. Yeah. I would walk into every casting. There was a million guys with a better body than me, better looking than me. It wasn't about that. I understood that, what are they looking for? It might be a guy with a crooked nose. Yeah. That might be it, right? So, but I'll never forget, I'm going to my agency and picking up my comp cards. And my booker, Mike Lyons, turned to me and said, "Hey, there's a casting like a block away. Could you take this woman? She just moved to New York." And I'm like, "Yeah, hey, nice to meet you. Cute, from somewhere in the South, pageant winner, Miss whatever. You know the story."
Yeah.
And I knew the casting we were going to was brutal. And when I say brutal, it's like a heavy casting. There's hundreds of people there. Oof. And I knew it. I was like waiting. And the whole time she's like, da, 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 and I'm walking and I got my back. I'm like, oh, interesting. Where are you from? Oh, okay, awesome. And I remember opening the door and being like, kind of looking to see her expression because she's never been exposed to what she was about to see.
Right.
And I opened the door and we walked in. And it was like, in my career of going on castings, you've never seen so many beautiful people. And I walk in and I just saw her face glaze over. And I looked at her, I stopped. I said, listen, sign in, hand your comp card. You never know what they're looking for. And then get out of here. And don't think about this again. If they call you, great. And if not, don't think about it again. And that was the last time I ever saw her. And the point of the story is that there's always someone out there that's better, in better shape, better looking, maybe more talented. You just don't know in your industry when you go in for that one audition, who is looking at you? What mood are they in that day? They might just look at a way that you smirk or respond to something and be like, I like this guy. I'm going to give him a shot.
Yep, it's true. It's funny you say that because I had dinner last night with the writer-director of this movie, Unbreakable Boy. You going back to that. But he never told me this before. He said that, the lead of the movie said, hey, listen, I think this guy would be perfect for it. Can you just FaceTime him? And the guy's like, I don't want, I've got somebody else in mind. I don't want to meet this guy, but he agreed to do it. So he's like, I'm like, one of those deals was like, hey, I'll be right there. I just got to do this real quick and get this over with. And so we have a FaceTime. And by the time that FaceTime was over, he's like, that's my guy. And I never knew that. Like, I was just being me, and it was, so I didn't realize that I didn't have that job until the end of that thing, and then I did. And so, thank God that, that we have those moments where there's a little grace involved, and because exactly what you said, you never know. And listen, that is the nature. That's the nature of Hollywood, of the business, is that the next phone call could be the one. And that's what I was trying to understand. I'm back in New York, which we loved living here. I love it here. We really enjoy the energy here, but it's a different energy because the whole world is here, right? And all these industries, and LA is really about Hollywood. Yeah. And so the energy of LA is that everybody, and even if you're not in the business, there's this feeling of we're all one phone call away from that big job. And so there's
kind of
this
exciting in a way.
It is.
Yeah.
And I had somebody tell me recently they moved away and that was the thing that they missed. They missed that excitement and that energy that is just kind of there. And it's hard to quantify, but I finally, after all these years, have figured out that's what it is. It's that waiting for the phone to ring. I have all my representation, I have them on the old phone ring, the old timey phone ring. So whenever it's like Pavlov's dog, whenever I hear that ring, I'm like, what is that? Is this the one? And so there is that vibe of what it is. And look, so many of your clients that are mega stars, they don't have to worry about that so much anymore. They're just about making whatever the next thing is. But there's always pressure. But it's it's.
I feel like a lot of the
business.
ones I'm working with though do run scared, and I think that's kind of cool. So even like
that's cool.
Like Annie Hathaway, who I love. Like I've worked with Annie. I'm good friends with her husband. She's always like. She's always hustling for that next job and she's always working and she's staying current and she handles herself beautifully. But I've never seen her sit back being like, I got this.
Yeah.
Like they're always, and that's what's kind of cool about it
and it's funny you say running scared because you have those epiphany moments.
Yeah.
And one of them was for me watching a DVD extras. Do you remember those? Remember the old days? The children, there used to be extra DVD extras and you'd have people like interviewed about the show and it was I don't even remember the show, Runaway Jury or something, whatever it was. And Dustin Hoffman, right? Dustin Hoffman, the same guy we talked about. And he's talking about being an actor. And he's like, the best part about being an actor is that you're always running scared. And the worst part about being an actor is that you're always running scared. So it's so funny that you mentioned that phrase because that is it to me.
But I feel like anyone great in business or anyone great in fitness or any great actor, there was a line that my grandfather gave to me at a young age. And he used to say this to me. And I got to be honest, Grandpa, sorry. I would roll my eyes to it because, when he's telling you this at 11, 12 years old, I'm thinking to myself, he would say, peace of mind. Like a wealthy man, is someone who finds peace of mind. And I'm like, I just want to be a millionaire. Like at a young age, right? Yeah. But like what I realized was peace of mind for him was the person who found levels of success.
Yeah.
And, that allowed them to find it. Success is wrapped in different ways for different people. But what he would give me was run scared.
Yeah.
Try harder. And there's no room for complacency. Those 3 lines.
Yeah.
And now that I even look at someone who's incredibly
that
driving,
you.
Thank you. But like anyone, anyone that I work with now, or anyone that I don't want to say work with because I'm not working with many people anymore.
Yeah.
Anyone I'm connected with.
Yeah.
The thing that we all have in common is even when things are going good, I think you have that level of humility because you remember how bad things were at a certain point, or you remember shitting the bed and saying to yourself, God, you know what? I'm one bad performance away, or it's not even. This is the scary thing. It's not always on you.
Yeah.
Because you can go in and give the actor performance of a lifetime. I don't know how they're editing or cutting this or the directing or all these things can really portray how you're being seen. You can go in and feel phenomenal about your performance, but then the finished product is shit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. And
it happens all the time.
And it happens all the time. And I think that's why a lot of the actors that I've worked with have that, and I think that's a good thing. And I think having that can be a great quality, but can also work against you. Health and wellness.
Yeah.
Why is it that we're not, going and eating a pizza every day? Could I get away with it? Sure. But things start fading and they start diminishing. They start going, they're against your rules and against your values.
Well, and that's true for me. We've had the journey together as my trainer and the, the ups and downs. And it's like, there's always the thing that happens, whether it's traveling or an injury or whatever. And then you slide and you backslide and and even now we're talking like, all right, I got to get back after the weights. I've been doing the cardio, but I got to get the weights. Like it is a constant battle with the
But what am I trying? Well, the one thing that you and I have always worked on is, Drew, we don't have to go in there with our A game.
Yeah.
We don't have to go in there with our 6 day a week, 90 minutes a day. I honestly believe with the basketball, and listen, who's pushing you a lot now is your son.
That's right.
Because he's in 8th grade. He looks like he's a senior. Great looking kid, put together, so articulate. Like you speak to him and you feel like you're at dinner with a 30-year-old. I mean, you got to be really proud of him. Leo's phenomenal.
I'm so proud.
But
he's my wingman.
But I see now that there's like, all right, man, there's going to be a little competitiveness going on here. Like he's going to be busting your ass soon on the basketball court.
Absolutely.
But so now it's like, what do you guys, 3 days a week, I think, of just getting in and giving me 30 minutes at 3 days a week with everything else you're doing, it's enough.
Yeah.
it's enough. And you got to realize it's enough. I think sometimes you're thinking of
100%.
Gotham and you're like, well, back then it was 5-6 days a week. And that was Drew then. Maybe we don't need that now in Drew's life.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the things I love about the way that you approach it is that you, like I said before, you meet people where they are. And that's for me, and the way that my ADD brain works and going down the rabbit hole, like being able to take a chunk and be like, okay, we can do this, and also to model for my son, to be like, okay, this is important for him in his longevity and the way he's going to approach the rest of his life. Like, are we going to,
that's smart, by the way.
That. Yeah.
That's smart, because most parents will contact me and they'll say, how do I get my kid, or what program? And I'll say, what are you doing? I'm not asking. I'm asking you what he should do. I'm like, tell me, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, nothing. And I'm like,
there you go.
So I want to jump to I want to pivot for 1 second. Your wife she's a beautiful person, by the way. And I've always been a big fan of hers. I love collaborating with her.
Sweet.
I think she's very talented in so many walks of her life. But she's a strong person in your life. She's been an incredible influence on you and your son. She's Mama Bear in the house.
Yeah.
And it's like, I almost look at you and Leo sometimes as almost like you're his dad, but you kind of get this little brotherly thing, and Mom's sitting there cracking the whip.
Absolutely.
She's very health conscious. What talk about the influences she's been on both of you.
Yeah.
And how much easier is it? I would assume it's easier that she's sitting there kind of coaching you along.
It is. And it's I wish I had her, and much like you, that determination, that self-control, because it's remarkable, because that's a thing. I was always called a cake eater, not because I ate cake, but because I wanted to have my cake and eat it too as a kid. Like, I want to have it all. Like, that's my mentality. And that's part of what got me to where I am today. But it also is a detriment when you're like, well, yeah, I want to be able to have my pizza, which is my favorite food, and work out and look great. It's like, I'm not great at depriving myself of the things that I want, because I want to be able to have it all. And she's been really good at being like, okay, well, listen, have a little, but like, here are the ways that you need to be healthy. And so, but it's all about the grind. So, I've left a stack of headshots for you to give to all of your more famous clients. So if you could just distribute them as you see them.
Listen, you've been very successful. One of the more loved actors that just from your reputation, obviously, I think everyone's going to know why everyone loves you so much. And I always told you, man, it's happening. You're doing fantastic, and keep pushing. I think sometimes things happen differently for different people at different times. Now, what I'm excited to do with you is we're going to take a few questions. What we do is we should have callers.
Okay,
they're calling in with questions. You and I are going to go back and forth. I don't know what they're asking us. Maybe fitness stuff, maybe acting stuff. I don't know. I'm here to protect you on the fitness stuff. The acting stuff, you're on your own. I can't help you there. But I think we're ready to go, right? Ashton from LA. Ashton, how you doing, man?
Look, he's got that Eagles champion hat on. He's loving life.
Go Birds. I'm having a great life.
Congrats.
It's been a good Well, thanks for having. I definitely want to ask a question. So okay. I'm a fit guy, so I feel so shallow asking this, but I just want to be even more fit, right? So this summer, I'm like, summer's coming. I've been doing my sit-ups, and like abs are in a good shape. But the problem I'm always coming to is kind of the body fat part. And I know nutrition is a really big part of, when it comes to body fat, BMI, and things like that, or at least I think that's what it is. So I was just kind of wondering if you guys could give any tips on, just nutrition things, like things to eat, or maybe even certain things like when it comes to shredding. I want a cheese grater this summer. So
get it. Well, like you want to, Drew, it's funny because I think
you want to see my that's later. Show you my cheese grater.
He's in better shape than he's leading up to. Don't listen to him.
I got my pony keg right here.
I really think like fitness and business and acting, there's so many similarities, because improvement, like if you want to improve, you have to start thinking outside. As when you get to a certain level, like he's at, you got to think outside the box. I mean, in your industry, maybe it's acting coaches or mentors, or maybe it's just reps of being on, in specific jobs. And, just having people critique you. One thing that's very difficult right now is I don't know what you're doing. So from an exercise standpoint, the stuff you named is great. But like from a nutritional standpoint, I don't know where your protein is, your carbs, your fat, your fiber. like how much resistance training you're doing. And I think if you're not assessing, you're guessing. So anytime I'm going to work with someone in your situation, I'm going to say journal for a couple days. Write down the meals that you're eating, because it might not be training. It might be more nutrition based. It could be training. Maybe your nutrition's great. But if there's volatility every day, right? Meaning one day you're eating 200 grams of protein, the next day you're eating 100, and one day you're eating 300 grams of carbs, and the next day you're eating 50. There's so much volatility. It's very difficult for the body to change, and I think that's something you could take from bodybuilders.
I remember being around when you were getting ready for that Muscle and Fitness cover. Right. I remember you were like, the amount that you had to, with your diet, which was already great, to get to that place I was like, hell no. But obviously, obviously this guy's ready for it. So,
No, I could tell you're in great shape, but I think the only difference between the cover of Muscle and Fitness or where I am now is that certain things, there's no guessing. So I track my macros now, but I'm even tighter. There's no cheat meals, where right now maybe it's one every 2 weeks or one a week, or those things. Like, I don't drink alcohol, but back then I would have a couple beers here and there. That's gone, right? There's just certain things that I think until you mark down and journal what it is you're doing. And what I recommend you doing is writing down the times of day you eat, your portion sizes, how frequently are you eating, how much water are you drinking? These things are important. And then be real with yourself. If you're noticing that in that week, I just had a couple chicken fingers here, or I had one piece. It was just a piece of pizza here, or I had an ice cream with my little cousin, and you're like, these things don't seem like a lot, but you know what? When you add them up at the end of the week, it adds up to become a lot. And when you start really monitoring that, that's when your body takes even more shape than where it is now. I mean, it looks like what you're doing is working really well, but
no, Don, what I'm hearing so clearly to me has kind of been a through line of my life. It's just being intentional and disciplined. And I think you're so right. Like, I am the chicken fingers on a Thursday night, but then back to my protein fully on Friday, and wondering why there's no consistency. So I'm a compliment guy. I just want to say, Don, you said it so perfectly. It's like everybody's so different. When I go work out at the gym, I see guys of dad bods, but it's something that's still so sharp about keeping cut, keeping lean. I think we all have different body sizes. So I want to say that to you, Drew.
Oh yeah, really, man. Yeah, I'm messing with you. I'm glad that you and Don can shred the cheese and I eat the cheese.
All right, brother. Nice meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting
you guys.
All right, see you, bro.
All right, we're gonna take.
That's awesome, dude. That's a really cool gift.
Come on, man.
He's a giver.
Come on,
Don Saladino. He's a giver.
We got one more call. We got.
You're
one
like
more
Oprah. You get a month, and you get a month.
Okay.
You get it.
I do a lot more. If I had Oprah's money, I'd give everyone a challenge. Is this Hannah from Austin?
It is. Yes. Hi, Don.
Hi, Hannah.
So Hannah, what's your question? Fire it off.
So I used to have a really good lifting routine back in college. So I'm pretty familiar with different movements and that sort of thing. But recently I don't have access or like to go to a big gym, and I've really gotten into spinning classes at home.
Sure.
And I've really lost, I don't have a good strength routine at home. And I'm just wondering, with some smaller weights I have at home, what you'd recommend for starting to rebuild a routine that I can do at my house with some dumbbells, and I have a barbell up to about 50 pounds. Just what would you recommend?
Well, Coach Drew over here, this is exactly you've come to the right place right now, because this is what we do with you.
Absolutely.
So why don't you talk to Anna right now about what was some of the basic movements that we had you do? And we weren't looking for a lot of time, Hannah. We weren't in there. Drew and I would not be in there an hour and a half, an hour. It's I'm trying to get Drew done in 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was great.
So talk about
because that was my deal. I'm not a gym guy unless I love the old drive, but I'm much more of an at home guy like you. And so Don hooked me up with these power blocks, which was really great because it was, I was able to get the weight, without having to have all of them.
Right.
But also, with just what you've got, with what you've just described, that Don's like, and this happens like when I'm on the road, it's like, okay, what's the hotel fitness center got? And some of them are like, basically what you described. It's incredible how with your programs, because you got the dumbbell program and you also got the gym program. But I almost always exclusively do, even if there's a gym, I do the dumbbell program because to me, I prefer it. I feel like it's better for me.
And a lot of full body. So what Drew will end up doing is he'll do like one leg movement one day, one pushing movement with upper body, one pulling movement, one core movement. And then if we want to sprinkle in some arms and have some fun, that's fine. But like the reality is this, you could do a goblet squat. You could do a dumbbell RDL, Romanian deadlift. You can do a shoulder press, a dumbbell row, and some type of a core movement. That's 5 exercises. Do 10 reps of each. Do 3 to 5 rounds or set a timer for 15 to 20 minutes and you're done. Like it doesn't have to be where if you enjoy spinning, I recommend keep spinning as long as your back feels good and your body's not bothering you because, spinning, being in that kyphotic position is going to force those hips to get tight and that back to get tight. Sometimes the low back gets a little achy. I think the strength training is going to be great for you because muscle can lead to a more efficient metabolism. It's body armor. It's protective. So it's going to allow you to spin and stay strong. And if you're doing the right fitness,
if she's limited,
mobility.
If she's limited in the amount of weight that she has, is that a situation where you just go more reps?
You can go more reps, or you can even slow down. So listen, if you have great question. Let's say you have.
Thank you.
Let's say you have 10-pound dumbbells. Let's say you have one set of dumbbells. It's a pair of 10-pound dumbbells. Well, on a Romanian deadlift, you're probably going to be able to do a lot more than that. On a bicep curl, that might be just right. So what happens with the Romanian deadlift? We might start slowing down the reps now. Maybe we're taking 3 to 5 seconds to get to the bottom with a pause. So now that set might take us a minute long. Right? We're increasing that time under tension. We can also raise up the reps, get the reps high. Like when I design programs, I would say 80% of my program design can be anywhere from 5 reps to as high as 30 reps. Yeah. You're going to feel things at 30 reps. Absolutely. Like you're going to feel it. You're going to create a stimulus. So I think there's a way you can be successful, but the biggest mistake people make is they're like, well, my arms aren't strong or they're not as strong. I'm like, you're comparing your arms to your legs. It's not even, you can't compare those things, but that's where I would start with 3 days a week max. Try and keep the workouts at 20 to 30 minutes max. If they're less, they're less. Get in, get out, and be hungry to want to repeat and do it again and again.
Yeah, no, that gives me a lot to think about. Thank you so much.
And what I'm going to do is we're going to start having Drew writing programs over here.
All right, step 1, go to Austin's Pizza, get the pepperoni. Love that place.
Unbelievable. Hannah, it's great meeting you. All right. And if you have any questions, DM me on Instagram and you can ask Drew for advice as well on the training regimen.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you, Don and Drew.
Thank you. Good luck.
Guys.
That was fun.
Yeah, so good.
How easy. So listen, man, thank you.
Buddy.
This is you had such a crazy few days with travel, your son waiting out there right now. The fact that you took time to come in here and spend an hour plus with me really means a lot.
Anything for you, brother.
I love you, man.
Love you, man.
Thank you.
The views, information, or opinions expressed in this series are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Chip and Joanna Gaines, Binel Audio, nor Magnolia.